Welcome to Live on Mars. I'm Alex, CEO and founder of MarsBased. This is a new episode, and we'll be talking to Didier Lafforgue, creator of LocomotiveCMS, which is the technology we use to build CMS-powered websites. That is an alternative, a much superior alternative to WordPress and other CMSs out there. In fact, in 2016, we did a comparison of all the Ruby on Rails powered CMSs out there, and we picked it. And that's why we started building websites with LocomotiveCMS. Also, Didier is the creator of an agency called NoCoffee. So in this episode, we'll be talking about agencies, so doing services versus product, why he picked Ruby on Rails to build this product, why he decided to build this product, how has he been marketing it, what are the implications of creating an open source project, modules, and general web development architecture, how to build new features, how to decide the roadmap of the product, SaaS, and other plans he's got for the future, right? So if you're listening to this, you're probably interested in knowing what are the pros and cons of using this kind of technology. But also we nerd out a lot on why people shouldn't be picking WordPress for their sites, especially if they want to have long-term maintainability, right? Without further ado, let's jump right into it. Welcome to Life on Mars. Welcome, Didier. How are you doing? Comment ça va?
Ça va très bien. Thank you very much, Alex. And thank you a lot for your invitation.
Welcome to the show. Just for some context to the audience, we are at MarsBased. Sometimes we use the technology that Didier and his team created, based in France. It's called LocomotiveCMS. I know that you like trains a lot. You probably like trains a lot. We're going to go into that maybe later because we want to hear the origin of the name. But we've been using Locomotive in the last 2 years, I think, to build projects where maybe less technical people have to have access to edit, like kind of like marketing people. They have to access to create content, create new pages, create new sections, rearrange, drag and drop stuff. That's really good. So to all effects, it's a CMS, right? It's a content management platform. Maybe you can describe it a little bit better, but there were a lot of content management systems or platforms like that in the market when you decided to start Locomotive. So why did you decide to do it? How did you come with the idea?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. So to answer that, we've got to go back in 2006. Actually, this year, I moved. My wife and I moved to Chicago, and I was looking for a job. And I could barely speak, 2 or 3 words in English, so it was a difficult time for me. But luckily, I found a Ruby on Rails web shop company in Chicago, and they hired me. That was great. So my job was to build websites and back office for the websites, for clients.
Yeah.
In Ruby on Rails. And the funny thing is that for each client, and that was insane, for each marketing site we were doing, we would build a brand new back office for them, like, with a different skin, UX, UI. That was crazy. I mean, that was great, for developers. As a developer, that was great because you could try anything you wanted, in terms of design, in terms of code. So that was awesome for me, but it was sustainable. I believe that was sustainable because we spent like 2 or 3 weeks, just for one single website. That didn't make any sense. But that worked for them. And we moved back to Paris 2 years later. And I worked for a startup in Paris. I worked for a startup in Paris, and then I became a freelancer. And because I had some free time, between my missions, I started to think that maybe I could build the CMS that I would have used, in Chicago, if I had this, like a dream CMS, for me as a developer. And I had some, basic requirements, like it has to be multi-sites. So I don't want to spin up a new server for each website I was building, with Ruby on Rails. So it has
Correct.
to be multi-sites based on Liquid, because I was a big fan of Shopify, and
Shopify. Yeah.
I mean, these guys
I
are
think
really great.
Salesforce uses Liquid as well, if I remember
Yeah, a
correctly.
lot of companies, and
Yeah.
they built Liquid because they wanted to. I mean, there were a SaaS company, and they allowed other developers to build their own templates that they will host in their platform. So about security issues, they had to come up with a safe templating language. So Liquid was perfect for that. Yes, and a nice looking back office. That was pretty much my requirements for Locomotive CMS V0. Yeah, I think that's it.
And that's when you created NoCoffee? That's the agency?
Yeah, yeah, that's the official entity behind my freelancer activity. So I was a single. This was a single man company. Myself.
Okay, one man orchestra.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You said something that it's true. Like every time you have to build like very similar at the very end, like every project needs a back office, right?
Yes.
And but very like us as an agency, when we sometimes we have also built some kind of prepackaged back office, prepackaged Rails application so that we don't have to build it from scratch, which we might use. But when we tell our clients, sometimes they're like, no, I don't want that. Like I want it bespoke. They're like, okay, yeah, we can do it again, but what's the point? And you're gonna pay more. And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
then it's too expensive.
Yeah.
So how to balance that, right? I think eventually every kind of like services company, we end up building something. But you went very far. Like you
Yes.
built an entire CMS. Like what we built is like, very basic active admin with the basics that you can deploy in every project. And it saves us, I don't know, like 40 hours, 60
yeah.
hours, but that's it. But you went farther than that. Like, why did that happen? What vision did you have?
Yeah. Okay. That's a good question. Actually, active admin, I use
Yeah.
that a lot for other clients' projects.
Correct,
Because
yeah.
I mean, you save a lot of time doing that. But
Yeah.
if we go back to Locomotive, that's a different back office, because you want people to edit content, and that's the main feature of a CMS, right? And active admin and tools like that, they are not content oriented. It's just
Correct.
raw back office, and not. I mean, they are not very fancy, but they do the job, and that's the final point. So yeah, for Locomotive CMS, I was looking for a better UX editor, editor user experience, like what you want to edit. I mean, you want to see what the content will look like when you
Yeah.
change the content.
Yeah, you get the smart preview on like I don't know how that's pronounced in English. I think it's WYSIWYG. So what you see is what you get.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you're editing the content and you get like a real time preview on the right panel, which I think it's very very smart. And I think the thing I wanted to ask you is like, what kind of clients did you have at the beginning? How did you come up with your first clients? Is it something you got like from the previous agency or?
No, I'm ashamed to say that, but
It's your family and
no,
friends?
no. I didn't have any clients for Locomotive CMS at first.
Oh wow.
That's
Okay.
that's insane. So I built it because I enjoy coding first. I enjoyed that, and I love CMS. It sounds crazy, but I love crafting stuff, and CMS is part of that. And so I didn't have any plan to sell Locomotive CMS or to use Locomotive CMS for my own clients. Because as a freelancer, my clients were other SaaS companies or other startups. So, I mean, they didn't want marketing websites. I mean, my clients didn't want that, and they didn't choose me because I was doing websites. They chose me because I was doing, products based on Ruby on Rails. You see the difference or not?
Yeah, correct. And they also wanted your expertise on building more complex stuff, right?
Exactly, because marketing sites, I mean, nobody cares. I mean, you can spin up WordPress and that's it. So I was doing that just for fun, actually, and I mean, it's kind of, I mean, it's a huge flaw because you can't sustain an open source project, in the long run without having like a business plan or revenues. I mean, that was quite naive from me, but.
However, if you build a good product and you build an open source / inbound marketing strategy around it, and seems like you guys have done it because we found you. So we were looking for, we did a comparison of, I remember like it was 2015 and we did a comparison internally. We tried all these CMSs that were there built on Ruby on Rails, right?
Yeah.
And what we found was like every Ruby on Rails, because a lot of companies that were asking for sites that wanted to have WordPress, but they didn't want WordPress, right? And of course, we're going to go into that a little bit later. And we fucking hate WordPress here. Like we hate WordPress at MarsBased. That's kind of like the forbidden word. Like nobody talks about WordPress. It's like our natural enemy. Like because
I've got
you got a different perspective of that?
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Let me finish it. It's basically what happens most of the times, in Spain at least, clients will go always for the cheapest option. So they're discussing with us. We provide them with a quote of the project, and then it's like, oh no, I'm going to do it with WordPress for 5,000 euros. And our project was like, I don't know, 50, right? Now we said, okay, there's always this huge gap. Let's find something that is halfway in between, that like a CMS, so that we can, save up on time. Will be significantly lower cost for clients, but still built in Ruby on Rails, it's still good. And we started testing Locomotive. And but we published a blog post about it, about like what's the best Ruby on Rails CMSs in 2015, I think. Now,
wow.
I don't know if we actually found you in that one, and we did it again next year. So probably has been in the second one. But that's the thing. Like sometimes, when you're an agency, some clients, they really need something like that. They need something more UX friendly for their non-tech people. They need more like oriented to content editing, as you pointed out. So, and I think that over the years, we've built a few projects with Locomotive. We're really happy with it, and that's why I said like, okay, we should discuss this product with our audience, because I think it's a great product, and you should give it more visibility. Sorry, you want to say? So what do you want to say about WordPress? Let's get into that.
WordPress. Okay. Go. Okay, I think WordPress is awesome tool. I mean, it's there is no question about WordPress. Regarding the speed you can have. When you craft a new website. I mean, you've got like a thousand of plugins, thousand of themes. You can start. I mean, in a couple of minutes, you can have something great. And there is always a but.
There's a huge list of buts.
Yeah, I know that.
But I want to hear your opinion. What's that?
First, plugins. It's
yeah.
Okay, this is our vision in LocomotiveCMS. For most of the marketing websites you are going to build, you don't need plugins. If you do need plugins, that's maybe you are not doing the right thing, and maybe you are not building a marketing website, but instead like a mini application, a web-based application. So
that's a good point.
There is a thin line between a marketing website and a web-based app, or site. So it's hard to tell to your client that maybe LocomotiveCMS is not doesn't fit their needs, and maybe they need like a custom application. So, but that's another story. Back to WordPress. So plugins could be a nightmare because you have to maintain them. Some of them have a lot of security issues. That's something well known in the WordPress community. It's a fact. You can do anything about that, and that that's okay. And then you have to maintain your website. I mean, like, running your website, on your hosting, provider. And from my experience, with talking with other people, is, for non-technical people, it's a nightmare, to maintain and to host WordPress website.
Yeah.
So because the technology barrier, frontier, limit is very low, in WordPress. So basically, anybody can do that. At some point, you are going to hit,
It's
pain
true in
point.
the short term. It's true in the short term.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm 100% aligned with that. That's a very interesting point to think about. Like, you're not building marketing websites, because that would be like only a landing page with a subscribe button or a call to action. If you need, if you need discuss for comments, maybe then you have a blog. And if you need an SEO plugin and you need this and that content moderation plugins, it's like, well, that's a mini application already. That's a good point. But the thing about the plugins is, like, they work in the very beginning, but like 1 year down the line, 2 years down the line, there's conflict between the versions. They stop being maintained. They have security issues. You will not update them, because you got to update them like every day or two. And farther than that, sometimes they make conflict with WordPress itself. It's like, what the hell? You need somebody technical to configure and set up all these jungle of things. And also, to your point, what you said, like, it's too popular. When it's too popular, everybody uses it. Everybody knows how to break into it, right?
Yes.
What I like about, one of the things we like about Locomotive is precisely, it's kind of like it gives the best of both worlds, right? Of course, doesn't have all the functionalities of WordPress.
Yeah.
But do you really need all of them?
No.
Not really.
That's my
right?
point.
Yeah.
I mean, you can build any kind of, I'm going to say that, I hope you will understand my point is, anybody has its own vision of a CMS.
Yes.
Basically, yeah. So, damn, I lost my thoughts.
It's like maybe your vision. I was gonna ask you, how did you pick up how did you select the functionalities?
Yeah. Okay, so I built Locomotive CMS for a specific niche, for a specific need.
Correct.
I don't mind if Locomotive CMS doesn't fit all the needs, and I didn't build Locomotive CMS to be the number one CMS, answering every need or every requirements. That's not my point. And maybe WordPress, they wanted, I don't know, maybe it's I mean they are doing great. They earn a lot of money, so they are successful. So they are the winner. So you can say, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but are they happy? Are they happy? Right?
I think so. But okay. My point is that WordPress is for everybody, and Locomotive CMS is for a typical
more select.
So, exactly. And that's fine.
How do you pick? How do you select the features that you want to build in Locomotive?
That's okay. That's hard because, as I said, I didn't have any clients at first, to use Locomotive CMS.
Yeah.
I had my basic requirements, but that's it. And the funny thing is that when I launched that, on GitHub in 2010, I received a lot of requests, from people all over the world. That was really great because I suck at marketing. And people discovered Locomotive CMS. I don't know how, but I found that and I said, okay, wow, that's great. I mean, the back office was looking great. I mean, I paid a designer, for that.
All right.
That's crazy, for like a
because most CMSs, they suck at design. Like, they're really bad, especially Ruby CMSs. They're really bad at design. But yours looks great. Like, we're not ashamed. You were not ashamed to show it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
out of the box is good.
That's part of my philosophy. I don't want to be ashamed by my product or by the project I'm working on.
Because that sells. Yeah, that sells.
Yeah. That's right. And I like working on very nice product. I mean, I want to be proud, of my work and of the product I'm working on. But that's another topic. Okay, and that's why I hired Sasha Griff.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure you know him because do you
I
know?
should.
Yeah, it's the JavaScript. Okay, each year there is a big JavaScript. I don't know how to say that. Sondage. I don't know how to say that in
Yeah,
English.
yeah,
A poll.
a poll. Yeah, I
Yeah,
searched that.
about
Yeah.
which JS framework you are using, which framework you are going to use in the next years, and he did the design for that, and he runs the poll. I mean, this is one of his projects, so it's kind of popular, in the design scene.
Okay.
And I think I was his first freelance project.
Oh wow. All right.
Yeah.
You made him famous.
Okay, don't say that. Yeah. But I mean, the back office he designed was really, really great, and I received a lot of of
Good
comments
feedback.
about it. Yeah, and that was great. So yes, and back to the CMS. Yes. Yes, and for the features, and quickly, I don't remember that exactly, but I was contacted by a US company, a company based in the US, a Y Combinator company. One of the Y Combinator
Yeah.
startups.
Yeah.
It was in 2011, I think.
Oh wow. Which one was it? Because 2011 might as well have been, I don't know, Airbnb or something like
No.
that.
Unfortunately, they didn't make it.
All right.
It was called Bushido.
I have no idea.
It was
Sounds
like
with that name you couldn't make it.
I don't know. I won't say anything about that. It was like a hero queue for open source projects. So the pitch, if I remember correctly, was that you can pick any kind of open source project on GitHub, and with one click, you could run like an instance of the open source project.
All right. Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that was a
interesting.
good. That was interesting, and they picked Locomotive CMS, in the CMS category, and
All right. Oh, that's interesting.
oh
So
well,
they were selling for you, actually. They
yeah,
helped you to
exactly,
sell. Oh, right.
yeah. But they didn't make it, but they paid me to work on a feature. I don't remember which one at the time, but they paid me, and that was my first sponsor for Locomotive CMS. So
All
I
right.
didn't have any clients per se, but I did have some sponsors. That was this company, Sean. Yeah, I remember his name, Sean Grove from Bushido.
Okay.
And then the second company was an European company, a Swisscom company, but at the time
Okay.
that was a Swisscom company. So it was called local.sh. So basically it's a yellow pages
Yeah.
in Switzerland. And
Okay.
they paid, I think they paid for the multi-language feature in Locomotive CMS. Because as you
Great.
know, in Switzerland, they've got like 4 official languages.
Correct. Yeah.
So, each site has to provide, 4 languages, has to come with 4
And you
languages.
didn't have it before? It was like English only?
I don't, I don't remember. I think
Okay.
I didn't have that feature at the moment, but I don't remember.
Well,
Honestly, I
anyway,
don't
so
remember.
then you started getting clients after these, and then every client was sort of paying
No,
for a feature, or not really?
yeah, only sponsors. I didn't have any
Only
clients.
sponsors. Okay.
Yeah, that's the funniest thing. I
Because it was an
only
open source project, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
but people were using Locomotive CMS for their own clients.
Yeah.
But
But you were seeing no money from it. Yeah.
at this point, other than sponsors, no money at all.
It's hard to monetize that. Like I can see where you were struggling because it's like, okay, yeah, everybody's using my stuff, Nobody's paying me. Like,
Yeah,
come
but
on,
because
man. Come
I
on.
wasn't a web agency. I was just one man.
One man orchestra.
Exactly, and I was even not. Yeah, I was not doing websites. I was doing products for other people. So
All right.
I mean, that's crazy. I mean, that's insane. If I shouldn't have done that, but anyway. And I started to monetize Locomotive CMS in 2012, I think. I
All
was
right. Only 2 years after. So.
yeah, 2 years after, and I was selling a CLI.
Okay.
The ancestor of Wagon.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, and I was, I don't remember. I think it was like two. 20 bucks, I think, for a license to use Wagon. I mean, as the ancestor of Wagon.
Yeah.
And I don't remember exactly the numbers, but I won like maybe a couple of thousand of euros for this
Okay.
tool. So not that bad actually.
Yeah, not that bad. Actually, can you tell, because I am familiar with the difference between Wagon and Engine, right?
Yeah.
Two main products, sub products or
Yeah.
versions of Locomotive, right? Can you explain this difference?
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. I should have
No
explained
worries.
that. Okay, so you've got LocomotiveCMS, which is the hosting part of LocomotiveCMS.
Yeah.
By hosting, I mean they display the websites. They renders. I mean, it renders the websites. It does the editor stuff, the editor UI. But to build your website, you have to use another tool called the Wagon that you have to install on your computer. LocomotiveCMS, you don't have to have that on your computer. Basically, you use DigitalOcean or Amazon EC2, and you put LocomotiveCMS on a server, and you don't care about that. Okay, all you have to do is to have Wagon on your machine as a developer to craft your website, to design, to write the templates, to write the CSS for your site. And once it's done, you just have to deploy again with Wagon. You just have to deploy that like a little bit like a FTP on steroids, and you deploy that on LocomotiveCMS, on the server, and that's it. So at first there was a paid CLI. I mean, there was a license to use that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Oh yes, and then I saw that that was not a great idea. So I open sourced that, and instead we launched the hosting platform. So as an agency, you don't have to take care of the maintenance or of the upgrades of your own LocomotiveCMS. I do that for you. So that was a hosting.
And that's really good because clients don't want to pay for that. Or they were like, "Oh, the maintenance is too expensive." But if
exactly.
can leverage, that's very
good. And I come up with that idea with Estelle because Estelle is my wife.
Yeah.
And she joined the company in 2014. Yeah.
She's also a coder?
No, not at all. Okay. She has a marketing commercial profile.
Okay. And then there's Engine, right? That's the other part, which is...
Yeah, exactly. That's... Okay, this is... Okay, by hosting, the hosting side of LocomotiveCMS, and you write, this is the engine.
Yeah.
I meant the engine, and you've got Wagon on the other side.
Which is great because sometimes, like, one of the things that we actually like about a Locomotive is that it's very easy to extend, right? Because even though it's got a nice set of features, like sometimes you need something extra, right? Can't think of a specific use case here, but since it's a Ruby on Rails application, because I think we have barely touched the technology part of it, right? But it's a Ruby on Rails application, and it's pretty modular. So for us, it's very easy to say, okay, now, I don't know, if we had to change, for instance, the multi-language for whatever reason, right? Or we wanted to build like some sort of e-commerce part of it and want to have
Yes.
like multi-currency. It's very easy to extend the engine to roll it out and to do these kind of changes, right?
Yes, and that was one of the main things. I mean, one of the main good stuff about having an engine, for Locomotive CMS, because
Correct.
my plan was to, at some point, was to say, okay, if I want to build like a Shopify clone, a clone of Shopify, I could use the engine, plug in, e-commerce features, and boom, I've got my own Shopify platform. But that was a dream, and yeah.
So you were largely inspired by Shopify, right? That
Yes.
was one of your inspirations. But I think that did you also draw inspiration from WordPress, or what other projects inspired you?
Yeah, Shopify. Okay, mainly Shopify.
Mainly Shopify.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe I don't know. Maybe other products. I don't know. Oh, Radiant CMS. Do you know Radiant CMS?
Yeah. I don't have it top of my head, but like I think we've tried it. Yeah.
It was one of. I mean, I think it's the very first CMS in Ruby on Rails. Probably the very first
We
one.
probably tried it. I'm gonna dig up the blog post. But I remember Radiant. Yeah, Radiant. We tried it back then.
Yeah, and I was inspired by the design. I mean, at the time, maybe it looks maybe too old now, but at the time that was a great design. Okay, but that's one.
Yeah, I just found the blog post, and we actually analyzed Refinery, browser CMS, Locomotive, Mexican comfortable sofa, which was very, very popular back then.
Yeah,
and Radiant.
it still is.
It still is, but I thought it was discontinued for a while. I thought Mexican comfortable sofa was discontinued for a while or something.
I don't know.
And but some of them they had like really atrocious UXs. Like I remember, like now I'm looking at Refinery. It's like, oh my god, like I can't show this to a client. Like they will not like it, right?
Oh,
So
yeah,
browser CMS, they were really bad. Like they were really amateur. That's one of the things. Actually, if you go back to it, you will see the best. We picked Locomotive. Like I was not sure. I was not sure because we did it in 2015, and I was like the best. Yeah, we like one of the things to say. It's like we like the UX.
Yeah, thank you. But about those CMSs. Yeah, I reviewed them, maybe all of them, and I was kind of impressed by the features they've got. I mean, compared to Locomotive CMS, they had much more features.
Yes.
Many more features, and but
many.
Yeah, many, but it made the interface very difficult to use, and for most of my at the time I had some direct clients, having some websites to do, and I couldn't. I mean, Locomotive CMS was the best choice for them because I didn't want to have like a super difficult user interface, to show them because they don't care about tweaking, specific stuff, in the administration panel. They don't mind having like a complex administration panel or where you can change anything you want in the CMS. This is not the purpose of Locomotive CMS. It has to be super simple to use.
Correct. Yeah, and one of the points, like, we are an agency that we take a lot of pride in how things look like, because if you see something that's visually, it's good, it looks good, it sells more. Like people are gonna accept it. Like you can build the best code, but if it doesn't look good on the outside, non-technical people will not understand it, and the CEO or somebody who, like anybody who has to sign the contract, they'll be like, no, I prefer this other one, looks better. Maybe it's shit. Maybe it's shit. Like the code is shit. It's gonna break, but it's visually appealing, right? More than looking good, any kind of project, it should not look bad. If it looks amateur, people will not buy it, right? And I think that's something that we said.
Yeah, and one more thing.
Comparison.
Yeah, I agreed. And one more thing is that you are in competition with WordPress.
Yes.
Always. Yeah, and I remember one of our last clients he wanted a locomotive. I mean, he wanted to work with us because we are good at integrating HTML, CSS. Coming from a designer, and the designer recommended us, for this work.
Okay.
And the client came to me and said, "Okay, I want that in HTML, CSS for my WordPress website. Can you do that?" And I said, "No, we don't do WordPress. I'm super sorry. We've got our on CMS." And he was like, well, "Okay, can you show me your CMS?" And I was like, "Okay, good. Okay, I can do that." So I did a quick demo of LocomotiveCMS, and it was like, okay, that's good. I want to use that, and I don't care if we don't have WordPress. At this point, I didn't care anymore. So, you're right. And proving that your CMS is super easy to use with a concrete example, it does all the marketing and business.
It looks professional. It needs to look professional. Then it looks like a real product. Like most other CMSs, they look like something done by a 15-year-old, right? And or somebody who just loves backend, and probably they were super good in the code and efficiency and performance, but it looked like shit. So it's clearly your background in doing or working with this freelancing, having some taste for design, that helps a lot to sell. Actually, that's a really good point. And this comparison with WordPress, when actually, I'm not sure I should share these. I'm going to share it. Just fuck it. Whenever potential clients come to us and they say oh, we got some options on the table, we want a quote from you, I always ask, is any of these options on WordPress? Because if so, we don't compete, because we know 100% of the times we're going to lose. Because people will go for WordPress. Two funny things here. One is that 2 or 3 years down the line, they come back to us. Didn't work. We want to move out of WordPress. It's now, motherfucker, now you want to move out of WordPress. Anyways, I guess you got to learn. You learn the hard way, right? The second is that actually only once in 7 years, we beat WordPress in contesting for a project.
Wow!
And to this date, it's our biggest project. We built the site of Startup Genome.
Yeah. Nice website.
So shout out to them, because they were really brave in taking this. Brave in. They could have chosen the easiest option, the cheapest option. That was WordPress. But they chose this one, and it's been 3 years already. Great project, extending it year after year. Really happy with it. So huge shout out to them, because they took the courage to say we're not going to go for WordPress. We're going to take this one. So very interesting project. Anyways, let's talk a little bit more about the technology, right? Why did you choose Ruby on Rails? And how has this affected the development of Locomotive?
Wow. Okay. Okay, quick answer. I chose Ruby on Rails because I was doing Ruby on Rails at the time.
Which is usually the kind of answer we always get.
But why? Okay, my background, I'm an engineer and a computer engineer. I started as a Java developer in a very big, consulting company, Capgemini.
They're pretty popular in Spain too.
Yeah, it does. This is a French. There are.
Sorry about working for them. I'm ex-Deloitte, so it's the same.
Yeah, it does the same exactly.
Yeah, more or less.
And I was kind of frustrated because I was doing web-based application in Struts. I don't know if you remember Struts.
Oh my god, Spring Struts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Hibernate.
Wow, yeah.
J2E, yeah.
Exactly. So. Okay, when I discovered Ruby on Rails, I was like, okay, I have to stop everything I was doing at the time, as a Java developer. I quit Capgemini, and I did, Ruby on Rails, work. That was, this was a game changer at the time, in terms of how quickly you could build a web-based application, compared to PHP. For instance, even in PHP, you couldn't, and I think you can't anymore beat Ruby on Rails when you want to build something from scratch.
Development speed, right?
Yeah, development speed. Sorry, I was talking about that.
something that I always struggle to explain to clients that why do you work with Ruby? It's like because we come from Java, and whatever we could build in Java in 3 weeks, we can do in 1 week in Ruby.
Yeah, even
so
less.
More or less, it's like that. Right? Even less.
Yes.
Even less. Yeah.
Yeah, even less. That's right.
Like
and,
you couldn't build a CMS being a one-man project without Ruby on Rails. That's a good example, I think.
Yeah,
right?
I'm the proof. I'm definitely.
Yeah. What kind of other advantages did it give you? Like the modularity, extensibility of Rails. I don't know. What other advantages did you find using Rails for a CMS project?
Yeah, maybe it's the fact that you can have multiple engines in your Ruby on Rails project.
Okay.
Like you can combine any kind of engines, and that's why I built LocomotiveCMS as an engine, because I had some bigger plans for that, even if I didn't follow that plan. But that's another story.
How does that translate to like clients? Like how can you explain the advantages?
You can't sell that to a client. It's not
that, but maybe you can, like, is there something else that Ruby or Rails in Locomotive is better for the clients, provide advantages?
That's a big topic for us, because it's okay. We have to say something about LocomotiveCMS. LocomotiveCMS is built in Ruby on Rails, but I could have done in Java, in Go, in Rust, in whatever language you pick, even in PHP. But you don't have to know Ruby on Rails to build your LocomotiveCMS site.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Great point.
So I'm going to answer another question. It's hard for us, as a company, to promote LocomotiveCMS, because if we say that we are Ruby on Rails CMS, we are targeting Ruby on Rails developers, but at the end, they are not going to craft websites with Ruby on Rails CMS, with a Ruby on Rails CMS framework. And maybe they will get frustrated because they can't use Ruby, for that.
Yeah.
And
that's a good point.
And on the other side of the story, if we say that we are a CMS not in Ruby on Rails, we are like a standard CMS, people won't understand. In that case, we are going to compete with, any CMS in the market. So it's you can't compete, against Squarespace, Wix, and a CMS like that. So it's very hard for us. Okay, so now when we present LocomotiveCMS to a client, if they want a marketing website, we don't say that we are built in Ruby on Rails, because it doesn't make sense. They don't care.
It doesn't matter that much, right? It doesn't matter that much.
Yes, they don't care. They know that we built LocomotiveCMS, that we are going to maintain it. If there is something wrong, happening in LocomotiveCMS code, we are going to fix that. And this is what matters, for the client, not the language behind that. They don't care.
They don't care. One thing they might care, actually, I don't know if this has been changed in the last versions, but I remember like Locomotive is built on top of MongoDB, if I remember correctly. So non-relational databases, is it? Like, I don't know if like now it's compatible to with SQL and whatnot, but like, why did you take that decision? And very curious about that. Like,
because content types. So in LocomotiveCMS we've got content types. So content type is basically a model, like your data structure, and you can build any kind of data structure in LocomotiveCMS. And in the time, so back in 2010 or 2009, it was hard to use the SQL, to modelize the fact that you can have different kind of structure, data structure. And there at the time there were CouchDB and MongoDB, and to me it was like the best tool, to store, I don't to store.
But it was even early. It was even kind of early for those technologies, right? I don't know when they came to the market, but I think it was like more or less around that time. Let me just Google that. But like,
look for CouchDB. I think it's 2008, 2009, maybe. I don't know.
Because like MongoDB came out on 2009.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I did have a prototype of Locomotive CMS with CouchDB.
CouchDB, yeah, I'm gonna look for it, but I think it's around the same time. I remember like, oh no, it's 2005 actually.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, so probably that was more established, but I remember like Mongo, I started using in 2009, and in my previous company, it's like, wow. That's when you mentioned that 2009. It's like that's very early. And I remember it was that was this huge new thing. It was you were taking a bet on something that might not work. You know,
exactly.
Like, it worked.
But it worked. Okay. I had some luck about that because I mean, if I had to start again Locomotive CMS, no way I would have picked MongoDB. No way. I mean, it's
all right. That's interesting. Why? Yeah, what happened?
Because it's too immature. I mean, for your client's project, you are not going to. I'm pretty sure you're not going to use like a product which has 1 year, which is only 1 year. You know, you're not.
We never do it. We never do it. But like
no, never. I mean, because you've got experience, you know that maybe maybe it's going to crash in 1 year. You don't know. Yeah. Or maybe is going to be bought by Google and shut down. You don't know that.
Correct.
So yeah. I've got thinking about Parse.com. You know, for instance, great product.
I don't know about that.
Parse.com. Yeah. Okay, but
in retrospect, right now, like, has it been a good choice? Like using a relational database for.
Yeah, I think so because in Locomotive CMS, I've got one collection because we call that collection in MongoDB instead of table in SQL. I've got one collection for all the content entries for all the websites. So so that's pretty crazy actually, but it works. It works fine. So it was a good choice at the time, but I won't do it again. For sure.
Yeah, but however, like at least the kind of projects that we built with Locomotive are very heavy on the content side, right?
Okay.
And sometimes we have to extend the kinds of content because it's like, okay, yeah, we would like to have more, compatibility or like some extra kind of content here that is not supported natively, but we can extend it. So perhaps this kind of content gets better indexed, or I mean, it gets
that's a good point.
Better compatibility with non-relational databases, right? It's easier to extend it.
Yeah, exactly. And
so for the developers, it's good. I understand, but like there's a learning curve. Of course, you've never used non-relational databases. It's not intuitive in the beginning, or not super intuitive. But like,
okay. One interesting story. I talked to one of my friends, I think a couple of months ago, about Strapi. Do you know Strapi?
Yeah, we've been testing it. It's based on React or Node, I think.
Yeah, it's a Node.js application. They've got React, for the back office.
That's like super early, right?
Yeah, but not so early now. I mean, they are 3 or 4 years old right now.
Looks a little bit amateur though. We tested it. We did a hackathon like 2-3 months, and we were like, looks good. Like the functionality is very good, but lacks a lot of things. It's missing a lot of things. We find it like too incomplete for now.
Oh, okay, interesting.
It's very easy to extend. I remember it was like, wow, you can extend it like whatever. It's like, well, precisely. I don't want to do your job, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry. No problem. So back to my conversation with my friend, and he was saying, and I'm not so sure about that. He was saying that he tested Strapi, and he said, okay, if you want to change your model, behind the scene, Strapi is going to drop your table and to recreate it.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, it can't be that. I mean, it doesn't sound right. And he assures me that that was the case. Okay, that's not good. Compared to my content types, I mean, for me, it didn't have to run, like a migration task behind the scene. A very low, internal task, to change a model. It has to be done, on a higher level. So it's difficult to do. It's difficult to explain, but
our conclusions with Strappy was like, you need developers. Like the client will need developers to use it, and that kind of like beats the purpose of using a CMS. Like you don't want them to have to use developers to change content, but like create a new page or whatever, right? And I don't know, maybe it's too early. It's too early for us. Couple of really quick things here, because I think we will need to wrap it up in 5 minutes. But like, first of all, also SEO. Your product has got like one of the parts of creating a new page. It's very well prepared for SEO, perhaps because of the marketing background that your wife had or something. You decided to embed that into the product. I mean, Ruby on Rails applications are pretty good at SEO usually because of the routes, like the URLs and slacks and whatnot, and like the performance and the kind of like the code structure. But like, when did you build that in, and what importance do you think it has for marketers to use it? Because most CMSs don't have SEO native. You have to use a plugin, whereas you have it native. Why?
Wow. Okay. First, okay. We've got SEO features. I think we've got all the basic. All you need, to start, for your marketing website and to be on page with the SEO. So we do that. It's not rocket science. It's not a lot of stuff. But what we do, what we say is that it's the developer job to do the SEO. We provide the tool. We provide the sitemap. We provide tools like that. But at the end, it has to be the developer job. I mean, the integrator job to put the SEO tags in the website. And for the redirections, for instance, that's a big topic. Because that's a big topic. So we provide a nice tool to write your own redirection. You can have like some dynamic parts in your redirection. So we handle that for you.
Correct.
But other than that, I mean, it has to be super simple, to do SEO. Yeah. I mean, that's my comparison of the job, but maybe I'm wrong.
But like, no, that's a really good point, because people think that SEO is super complicated, but 80% of SEO, it's 3 things. It's like, it's like, content, it's having like a good URL and the tags, like tagging things accordingly. And that does 80% of the job. Then you can go into like Open Graph and schema.org or like tweaking here and there. But what you need to provide as a CMS, and I think that's what you get right, is provide the 0 to 1. Like 0 to 1. Then the 1 to 100, it's a small part of it, right? It's too much effort for the little return. But the 0 to 1 gives you 80% of the benefit, right? So
and as a developer, as an integrator, for instance, you
don't want to do SEO.
No. You do have to do that, because
I do.
You don't want to have, like, for instance, 2 H1, in your page. That's bad for SEO.
Exactly.
But this is not the responsibility. I mean, Locomotive CMS is not in charge of preventing you to use 2 H1. That's not Locomotive CMS job. So
nope.
But I mean, as an integrator, you have to be aware of that.
Great. One question that our team wants to hear from you, wants to hear a proper answer. Is Ruby on Rails dead?
No, definitely not. No.
We hear that since like when we started the company in 2014, Ruby on Rails was dead. And 2012, it was dead already. Like, still not dead. It's alive and kicking ass. But like, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, sure. As a developer, I mean, I'm a freelancer, even if we've got a company with 4 or 5 people, in our company, we still are, a little company, but we do a lot of stuff, a lot of different technologies. So In the past years, I used Node.js with Express.js, to build websites. Elixir.
Great.
Go.
Okay.
And I can assure you that Ruby on Rails is still on top of that. It's there is no question, in terms of crafting, how fast you can build a website or an application. There is no comparison with Ruby on Rails and the other frameworks. I didn't test PHP with Laravel, but I think it's very close to Ruby on Rails. But PHP is not Ruby, right? I mean,
no,
as a developer,
we're not gonna go into that now.
I'm sorry.
We'll record a separate. We'll separate record a separate episode. PHP versus Ruby.
But
we have very blunt opinions on that. But
I've got also an opinion about that. But anyway, so yes, and I was thinking about another stuff about Ruby. Yes, it's slow. Yes, we know that it's super slow, and everybody is talking about Ruby and saying, okay, it's Ruby on Rails. It's a great technology, but it's slow. Yes, it's slow, but we've got a lot of tools, to get rid of this slowness, of Ruby on Rails. You can do caching, you can do whatever you want. So it's not really a big deal. And for most of our applications, it's fine, in terms of traffic, in terms of people using the number of people using it. We don't have 10 millions of people, using our application. So we are not going to use a super fancy, super techie tools just for a couple of users. It doesn't make any sense.
Look, I always give the same answer. If it's not slow for GitHub, Shopify, Netflix, Dropbox, it's not going to be slow for you, right? It's
exactly. And okay, we are building another product, another CMS.
I was gonna ask if you want to share something about that. But
also
based on trains.
Yeah. Always based on train. Yeah, that's right. Even if I live in Toulouse, and Toulouse is the city of planes, but I could have named that, with a name of train. But anyway, that's another stuff.
Tell us real quick.
Yeah, sure.
We'll wrap up with that.
Yeah, okay. So maglev, we extracted the sections feature in CMS.
Yes.
So we've got a new product. It's only based on sections. It's like a CMS based on sections, and you can embed that in your Ruby on Rails application. And that's the thing, is that we still use Ruby on Rails for our next CMS. So that means something. That means that Ruby on Rails is definitely not dead. This is a new CMS. It will have an open source version, and it will have a licensed version, because now we are trying to do the things right. So we've got a solid business plan. So
perfect.
Yeah, but it would be a sections-based CMS.
And actually, for those who don't know, so maglev means magnetic levitation, which is the technology allowing the high-speed trains to sort of levitate based on, what is it? It's magnetic.
Magnetic, exactly. So that's why it's a new version of LocomotiveCMS.
I thought it was when I read it first, maglev, it looked like a Russian name. I was like, why did they pick this name? And I googled, it's oh wow, this is really cool actually. So when will it come out? When can we expect it to drop?
September this year.
Great.
We will release maglev in September. The MIT version, the open source version. And it will come with themes, sections that you could use from scratch. So you won't have a designer building your section. So it will be a really nice thing.
Okay.
But okay, more to come.
More to come. We're recording this. It's May 21st. Most likely this is going to come out in a month and a half. So we'll be pretty close to the release date. Yeah. Last question, real quick, Didier.
Yes.
Really thankful for your time, but we want to wrap it up with our signature question, which is, what's the biggest tech fuck up you've done in this project?
No.
You can share from other projects, but What's one point where you saw like, wow, I fucked up big time here?
Oh yes. You know Wagon?
Yeah.
I did a Mac OS application for Wagon. And the man
Didn't work.
More or less, and I was like, why I'm doing that? Why I'm doing Objective-C in Locomotive CMS? Why? But
why did you decide? Why did you do it? Like, what was the rationale?
Nothing rational about me, No. I was like, wow, I want to do a Mac OS application. I think it was fun, and and I used Ruby Motion, but anyway.
How much time did you put into it? How much time? Let's translate that.
Like 6 months.
6 months. Holy
fuck. And I hired a Mac OS consultant guy for that.
Oh wow! All right, so it didn't pay off. It didn't
pay
off.
No, not at all.
But you know what will pay off? Using Locomotive for your projects. So thank you very much.
Thank you for everything, for your patience,
no,
and for using Locomotive CMS.
Man, I have so many questions. I mean, I still have a lot of questions, and we could be discussing at length. So maybe we'll have to invite you again to talk about this. PHP against Ruby or whatever. Because I have like at least 15 other questions in my head, but we've been here over an hour now. So
okay.
Let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up now. 30 seconds from you. What do we have to know from you? What do you want to share with our audience? How can we help you?
I don't know. Using the new version of Locomotive CMS, so maglev, coming in September. So
Perfect.
we are going to launch that, and we want a lot of feedbacks. Bad, it's okay if it's bad, because we are going to improve that. So and what we need from you, just support and just saying that Locomotive CMS helps you it's a pleasure for me, and it makes things that I did something good, and that's it.
That's perfect. You should be happy with it. It's a
really
great product. Alrighty. See you on the next episode. Bye.